Thank you, Margaret. Let us share screen. Okay. Good. That's where we want to be. Thank you so much. Okay. We're going to get to some real meat and potatoes. Here we go. We're going to start a deep dive on meditation and self-mastery. That is the next section of Rabbi Kaplan's curriculum, his book on Jewish meditation. And it ties right into what we've been doing the last few months in terms of what's going on in the mind, how do we understand the mind, how do we control the mind. That's all about what? Self-mastery. So we're going to use 3 essays. One is Meditation and Remolding the Self by Rabbi Kaplan. We're going to use the Ramchal's Mesilat Yesharim, Path of the Just, which is a wonder. As 2 chapters in that, at least 2 chapters. And Dr. Maltz's chapter on how to awaken the automatic success mechanism within you. It's really good stuff, and it ties right in. It'll give us a new insight into how to control our mind. Okay, so we have some treats coming up in the meditation part of our class. Here we go. Now, I need to remind you that we've covered this material probably last year at this time. And now that we have a much broader perspective, it's going to serve us well to review it. So hold on one second. Let me just get the notes here. Here we go. Let's talk about remolding the self. These are the points he makes. I am right here. One of the most important meditative movements in Judaism is associated with the Musar movement, Musar school, founded by Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. He lived in the 1800s. Musar, self-perfection, was always an important element in Judaism. Important texts on the subject were published as early as the 10th century. The Musar movement, however, made self-perfection its primary focus. The movement taught that a person should continually strive to grow spiritually, ethically, and morally through the course of his lifetime. Interpersonal relationships were given a high priority in the Musar movement. It was not enough to be able to experience the divine. Not enough to be able to experience the divine. That's one thing that Rabbi Kaplan has been talking about continuously with the meditation, experiencing the divine, experience the divine. Okay. One also had to be able to get along with others in the best possible manner. Anger, hatred, revenge, gossip, and jealousy were seen as bad habits that could stunt a person's spiritual growth. Habits. And you're the habit of becoming angry. You're in the habit of becoming jealous. It's not like anger just comes and takes over you. It's a you feel anger and you cultivate it, and it becomes part of you. It's a habit. The premise was that if we grow in our relationship to God, we should also grow in our ability to relate in a positive way to our fellow human beings. The Musar school thus strove to make every individual into a saint in every sense of the word. People were taught to be sensitive to their own shortcomings and were encouraged to create personal programs to rectify them one by one. These personal programs are meditations. So here we see right off the bat that the Musar movement from the 10th century had meditation. And the meditation was intended to help us perfect ourselves, not become perfect, but get into the practice of perfecting ourselves, getting better and better and better. To some extent, the Musar movement was a reaction to the Hasidic movement. Hasidism began as a mystical movement. In order to climb high spiritual mountains, experienced guides or rebbes were needed. In some Hasidic circles, however, the guide became more important than the mountain. Many Hasidim regarded the Rebbe as the paradigm of the saintly man and lived the righteous life vicariously through him. So I don't think, I mean, he's not giving a lot of information here, and I don't think he's casting aspersions on Hasidim as a whole. He's basically saying that his understanding of history is that one flaw of the Hasidic movement was that they idolized the Rebbeim, the Rebbe, and you can't say that, well, my Rebbe is perfect, so I am perfect. You can't live vicariously. That's too much like that other religion. So he's saying, therefore, the Muslim movement stood in opposition to that and said, no, we need to help each individual take responsibility for themselves and perfect themselves. The Muslim movement developed among the Mitnagidim, opponents of the Hasidic movement. Musar schools taught that it was not enough to live the righteous life through a master. Every individual had an obligation to strive to live the righteous life in his own right. Beyond that, the Musar movement offered a program through which every person could gradually perfect himself. It made a program. The first part of the Musar, there is an extensive Musar literature in Hebrew. Some of the most important Musar works are Path of the Upright, Mesilat Yesharim, which we're going to go through. All right, so one of the texts we'll be using in this part of class is a pillar of the Musar movement itself. And Ways of the Righteous, also by the Ramchal. He's got two books, popular books, that have served as a basis for self-perfection. And the one we have has the original Hebrew and the translation into English. The first part of the Musar program was to make a daily habit of reading a lesson from a classical Musar work. After reading the lesson, one was to spend a short period of time contemplating it and relating it to one's life. You reflect on this. That's meditation. You read about something and you say, how does that fit into my life? As the individual began to advance, the contemplation became a meditation. One would read a lesson from a classical Musar text on how to improve the ethical, moral, and religious quality of one's life, then meditate on this lesson for 20 to 30 minutes. So 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so we've learned about sitting meditation when you focus on your breath to develop mindfulness, and a similar type meditation for the same length of time. He mentioned and last year when we covered this, how to rearrange your life and optimize what you need to do. So this is a meditation when you're contemplating on your life and saying, what do I need to fix here? Another type of meditation. It is a meditation in which one considers a particular aspect of one's life and thinks about ways to improve it. In meditations such as these, extraneous thoughts are gently pushed out of the mind. You need skill to do that. So what he's actually saying is that people who want to engage in this meditation of contemplating your life and deciding how to improve it have to also have meditated in the way we've been discussing, where you're developing focus and the ability to remove extraneous thoughts or not pay attention to them. Two forms of meditation working together. However, some authorities, such as the Baal Shem Tov, maintain that a person should pay attention to extraneous thoughts since they could provide clues as to what direction to take. One may wish to make mental notes of these extraneous thoughts and then analyze them to see how to make use of them to help attain one's goals. All right. A third mode of meditation being introduced here. We have the meditation that we've been discussing where you develop focus and the ability to ignore or let pass extraneous thoughts outside your focal point. We have this contemplation meditation, which Rabbi Kaplan's talking about today, where you're contemplating a certain Musar lesson. But the third way is to involve the extraneous thoughts according to the Baal Shem Tov and see if they can help you make sense and give you insights on how to do the rearranging. That to me seems to be kind of advanced, because on what basis do you decide something's relevant? So I've never done that actually. So that seems to be a little bit complicated to me, but he's putting it out there for those who are interested. The program of self-improvement could include more than just moral issues. The Musar school saw their method as a way of becoming a more effective human being. Here's the personal growth aspect of this. Personal growth aspect wrapped in a religious wrapper. Problems such as shyness, indecision, lack of motivation, and the like could also be helped through Musar methods. Isn't that interesting? So personal effectiveness is under the rubric of growing spiritually as a Jew, becoming more assertive, knowing how to prioritize, time management, all these human relations skills to us are part of self-perfection and part of your duty as a religious Jew, according to the Musar school. This is one big reason why I've incorporated Maxwell Maltz and Siebold and Matt Fury and Mark Devine, all these people, because we consider self-perfection, including personal improvements and personal effectiveness, to be part of our spiritual journey and our duty as a religious Jew. The second part of the Musar program consists of a mantra-like repetition of the concept one is working on. Okay, we're introducing a fourth mode of meditation here. For example, a person may have a tendency to gossip and want to break this habit. He may realize that gossip is harmful to others and morally wrong, and that it is forbidden by the Torah commandment, do not go as a talebearer among your people. It's from Vayikra. The method of breaking the gossip habit would be to take the biblical verse, do not go as a talebearer among your people, and repeat it every day for a 20 to 30-minute period like a mantra. As one works on it, the message is gradually absorbed and the self-control necessary to avoid gossip is attained. Isn't this interesting? Why? What did we learn from Maxwell Maltz about self-image? He said a self-image is developed by three contributing factors. An authority figure says something and it's important, a high impact experience, and what's the third? Repetition. So repetition is repetition is repetition. On the one hand, you could have your mother or your father saying, oh, you never amount to anything. Oh, you never amount to anything. All right, so you absorb that and you feel like I never amount to anything. That's repetition. Here's a positive form of repetition. Don't gossip. Don't gossip. Do not go as a talebearer. Using the verse from the Torah, do not go as a talebearer among your people. Do not. That's repetition. Whether you're saying it to yourself or somebody's saying it to you, to the brain, it's like repetition is repetition. And this way, you're reprogramming yourself using one of the three ways we develop a self-image. So then you become somebody, if you do it long enough, you become somebody who does not go as a talebearer among your people, because you program yourself like, this is not what I do. I don't go as a talebearer. Same technique we've been talking about. Another effective technique is described by Rabbi Nachman. This technique consists in speaking to various parts of the body. This is like really cool, and this is like pure Rabbi Nachman. If a person wishes to change a certain trait, he can talk to the part of the body associated with that trait, and in this way change his actions. Taking the above example of gossip, a person could use Rebbe Nachman's technique and speak to his tongue, telling it never to say anything against each person. If one does this for a fixed amount of time every day, this too can be an effective form of meditation. Form number 5 of meditation. Let's say that you want to lose weight. You can use Musar and other meditative techniques in various ways. You can simply use the phrase, I am going to lose weight, as a mantra. I am going to lose weight. I am going to lose weight. I am going to lose weight. You say that over again. It makes sense. Why? Because if you keep saying to yourself, I like ice cream. I like ice cream. I like ice cream. What are you going to do? You're going to eat ice cream. So this way you say, I am going to lose weight. You're programming what Morse calls that success mechanism, which we're going to do a deep dive on. You're programming it to behave a certain way. You can speak to your body and tell it that you want it to be slim. You can also use an imaging technique. Imagine yourself slim. Visualization. What you would look like and how it would feel to be carrying less weight. Visualization. You are picturing yourself being thinner. You are feeling thinner. Oh, now my shirt feels better. No, I take my belt in a notch. All this stuff, here I am doing this. In your mind, but you're making it real for your mind. And that's what your mind's going to go for. You can speak to your mouth, telling it to not eat so much, and to your stomach, telling it to crave less food. A combination of techniques can be effective even in overcoming lifelong habits. Sounds crazy, but it works. Why does it work? It's because your brain knows that your whole body's engaged in doing stuff, your mouth, your hand, your stomach. So you're sending new directions to your mouth, your hand, your stomach, saying, no, don't reach for the ice cream all the time. And it's not like your hand has a mind of its own. And your mind that controls the hand says, oh, well, now I'm not going to keep reaching for the ice cream. This is all mental programming. Reprogramming from the stuff that made you overweight in the first place. I got to have ice cream because I'm feeling anxious. Okay. You say to yourself, I don't need ice cream when I feel anxious. I don't need ice cream when I feel anxious. I don't need ice cream when I feel anxious. So then, when you're feeling anxious, you're not going to reach for the ice cream because you program yourself not to do it. There are several hints. There are several hints. Let's go over here. That the Musar schools give to make any self-improvement program more effective. The first is not to try to make too many changes at once. That's smart. A Talmudic teaching, if one tries to grasp too much, one grasps nothing, is taken as a watchword. Better to be successful in making small changes than to fail at making big ones. If one succeeds in making a small change in one's life, it is easy to build on this success. All right, so you're talking about, you don't say, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. You say, I'm going to lose 3 pounds this month. There you go. Okay. And you don't say, well, I'm going to lose 3 pounds as much, and I'm going to become smarter, and I'm going to do this. You don't choose 5 things. Like Matt Fury even said, you focus on one goal at a time. Okay. The important message is what? That success breeds success and failure breeds failure. People often try to effect a change in their lifestyle and make the attempt many times only to meet with failure. This is particularly true of people who have tried to lose weight or give up smoking. And by the way, Matt Fury makes this point in physical training. He really advises people to not train to exhaustion. So you can't lift the weight anymore type of thing. Why? Because then you're getting your body used to being exhausted, to being energy depleted, to having your mind tired. And it's like, you can't go on for a while. No, you train while you still have energy and you put in a good workout and you've tested your muscles, but you don't push it too far. Because then you're conditioning your body to have worked out, but still be ready to act. If you train to exhaustion, you're not ready to do anything. You can't do anything. You don't want your body immobile. You don't want your body to be in the habit of being immobilized and impotent like that. Same thing here. Success brings success and failure breeds failure. Taken as an example, the person who resolves to quit smoking. He keeps his resolution for a few weeks, but then feels that he cannot go for the rest of his life without a cigarette and reverts back to his bad habit. He has experienced a failure, which makes stopping all the more difficult the next time around. After a number of failures, people give up and feel that the habit in question is beyond their control. That happens to a ton of people. Same thing with losing weight. Failed, why bother? The Musser approach would be to give up smoking for a specified amount of time, say 30 days. At the end of the 30-day period, one could begin smoking again. This is the key to success. During this 30-day period, a person would not have to confront the fact that he will never taste a cigarette again, or that he will have to maintain this level of self-control for years to come. The time of abstinence is manageable because it has a limit. That's really true. That people give up, they psych themselves out. Oh, I'm so used to smoking, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Forget it. He's saying, no, just don't do it for 30 days. The point of this technique is that at the end of the 30-day period, a person is free to choose whether or not to begin smoking again. If he resumes smoking, he does not have to feel like a failure, quite to the contrary. He has been successful in maintaining his 30-day abstinence and therefore has a success upon which to build. I did it once, I can do it again. He's lending validity to that. Saying, no, you're not a failure because you got back to it. You're a success because you stopped it for 30 days as you intended, which is not the same thing as like in day 13, oh, I got to have a cigarette, forget about it. If you do the 30 days, you did the 30 days. And you know you could do it again. You prove something to yourself. That's an impact experience that helps you develop your self-image, like Maxwell Smart would say. That is a good example of an impact experience that affects your self-image. I'm the kind of person that can stop smoking. I've already done it. As opposed to, no, I'm a failure. I can't stop smoking because I started again. Forget about it. You see the difference in how you look at yourself. Later, he can stop for another 30-day period. After doing this a number of times, he may find that the desire to smoke has waned. Why would the desire wane? It's because I'm not that guy anymore. If you do this, let's say, over the year, you do it, I don't know, 4 times in a year. Stop smoking for 30 days, then you smoke another for 30 days. Okay. After a certain point, you're like, all right, well, I feel like reaching for a cigarette, but you know what? It's like, it's not worth it. I'm not really that guy anymore. I used to be the heavy smoker that smoked every day, but now I'm the guy who stops. So that's not really me anymore. That's what happens. That's called a change in self-image. Of course, at the end of any of these 30-day periods, he may decide not to resume smoking. If one 30-day period was a success, the second 30-day period will be even easier. By taking one 30-day period after another, a person can continually weaken the habit until it ceases to exist. This is particularly true if during the period of abstinence, one uses the Musser meditational techniques discussed earlier. One can use the expression, I want to stop smoking, as a mantra to help strengthen one's will, so that by the end of the 30-day period, the desire to smoke will be diminished. Other meditational techniques can also be helpful. All right, so there you're employing meditation in this work on yourself. As you're not smoking in the 30 days, I want to stop smoking. You are reprogramming yourself. The idea of using 30-day periods is a very powerful tool in spiritual growth. Many moral or ethical habits are easier to break than smoking or eating habits, since in the latter, one must deal with the body as well as the mind. Many bad moral or ethical habits can be overcome in a 30-day period. I will not speak Lashon Hara. I will not speak Lashon Hara. I will not speak Lashon Hara. I will not listen to Lashon Hara. I will not listen to Lashon Hara. I will not listen to Lashon Hara. So that when somebody comes and said, oh, let me tell you what he did. Sorry, not interested. You've programmed your response. You can work on a relatively large number of character traits over the course of years and thus continually grow both spiritually and morally. You can, in fact, remold yourself into the good and righteous person you wish to be. Where you are is not as important as where you are heading. If you are willing to devote your life to continued growth, there are virtually no limits to the levels you can reach. So what he's saying here is that, okay, this round is going to be no smoking. Next round, it's going to be losing weight. Next round, it's going to be, I am going to walk 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day for 30 days, 10 minutes a day for 30 days. That's what you do. Incremental, and then you did it for 30 days. You do it for 10 minutes a day for 30 days. Like, wow, I'm a kind of guy that can walk 10 minutes a day. Let's do it again. And if you don't want to do it for a while, you say, I am the guy that can do it. I can do this. I've proven I can do this. Okay. It's really good stuff. Okay. Now, for the meditation component here, we are going to take a little glimpse at a really cool video that Martin Taub sent over. Let's see if I can do this. We're not going to watch the whole thing. It was very good, Marty, and thank you for sending it. Marty presented it to us because it's a nice presentation of moving meditation. Hold on a second here. Let's see if it works. Okay, hold on. Just blasting my ears. All right, so this gentleman is a Tai Chi practitioner. Good for him. And, this is Tai Chi is very much a moving meditation. I will add that people, picture Tai Chi as being a slow movement. There's very much a combat portion of Tai Chi that's very fast, and you fight with Tai Chi moves, just like with Bagua. It's a cousin of Bagua. But we're here to see how he demonstrates. When he's demonstrating Tai Chi, he's actually demonstrating moving meditation. Now, as Bhante tells us, when you do a meditation on what you're doing, on walking, whatever you're doing, you're breaking it up into parts. This is what my foot's doing, and this is what my other foot's doing. So as he's introducing the form, he's breaking it down into parts, and he's developing a mindfulness every step of the way of what he's doing.
Steve, just so you know, we cannot see the video.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't see anything.
oh, I'm glad somebody spoke out. Thank you very much. So hold on. All right, hold on. All right, can everybody see this YouTube thing with a guy in a lawn? Somebody raise your hand. All right,
Yes,
I see.
yes, yes.
Yes.
All right, there we go. All right, sorry about that. I should have asked. All right, so, all right, so you heard what I said. So he's going to go step by step through the form. It's a very simple form, and I'm presenting this to show you how he becomes mindful of every step of the way. See every step, and he coordinated the breathing, his posture, his bent in the knee, the angle he took, where his feet are placed. He put out his foot, step by step by step by step. That's a completely mindful move he made here, and he didn't go anywhere. All right, so now he's going into the second movement. Okay, so second point, first of all, as I mentioned, he's thought through every step. I mean, he was instructed how to do this form. Good. And his instruction made him mindful of this step, this step, this step, this step, this step. Very good. And now what is he doing? He's adding visualization to it. So he's empowering himself. I'm moving nothing, but he's imagining himself moving water. So that's enlivening the whole experience for him. Not only is it developing mindfulness, but it's adding energy to the meditation because he's visualizing himself doing something. So a lot of times, like if you go to a park and you see old Asian people doing Tai Chi, which you see a lot, and they're going like this, they're in their mind, they're physically doing something. They're pushing water, or if they're doing a combat technique, they're making contact with an opponent. Their mind is engaged in this. And sometimes you can see it because you can see their intent. They're not just like, they're like, yeah. Okay. So just a little bit more. Okay. One last point. When he's talking about locking in on the table, he's centering. Okay. So that develops mindfulness. So let's say you wanted to, so this locking on the table is a mental note for him to say, okay, I've just finished this part of the form. I'm going to go to the next step. So I'm renewing my mindfulness, and now I'm going to be able to focus on the next step. Okay. So let's say you weren't doing Tai Chi because you don't know this form, and let's say you want to develop mindfulness with a moving meditation outside your house. What you could do is your equivalent of like putting your hands on the table would be, I'm going to walk to the corner and stop, and then keep walking. That stop is a mental refresher to like remember to keep focus on the walk you're doing. Maybe as you walk, you intended to like be mindful of your feet, this and this, but you kind of got distracted and you're thinking about whatever else. but you knew, all right, now I'm at the corner. Ooh, I got to remember to be mindful now. Back to my feet. So that's a pause to center yourself and a reminder of what you're doing. You're trying to be mindful every step of the way. That's what this hands on the table stuff is. Okay. So this is good. So thank you, Marty. So what we've done here is we've seen a living example of somebody who's doing moving meditation. And again, he's moving, but he's not even going anywhere. This is a standing thing. This is the kind of guy who later on will be doing all kinds of movement. But you're moving. Whether you're going someplace or moving standing still, it's still a moving meditation where all of a sudden, instead of just being mindful of your breath when you're sitting, you're mindful of your hands and your hips and your shoulders and your posture and your angle. And there's a lot to be mindful of. And if you break it down into parts, it's a very interesting process, like Bhante says. It becomes very interesting. Ooh, I didn't realize my hands were doing this. Ooh, I didn't realize that my knees were bent. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that. Okay, thank you, Marty. Okay, now where am I? Okay, so we will now meditate. And we'll go over a lesson from Bhante next week. Margaret?